To comment on the following program, please call the response line 24 hours a day at 456-0860. Your comments are appreciated.
Welcome to Fusion, a half-hour program showcasing new and local talents. Tonight, an interview with Hal Kelly and Winston Sin, a music video by the Gutter Snipes, and live musical guests, Genetic Rhythm. All this and more on Fusion.
you. And now you're running there with all those guys. You're trying to give me your filthy lies. So can't you see that I'm going insane? Can't you see that I'm a real bad thing? You're ugly and you're stupid and you don't know why. You're gonna go to hell 'cause I'm never gonna die.
I think it started out around 1984 as strictly movie kind of fanzine, gore. It was mostly gore and horror zines, and then I think around 1988, it started to expand and get into more comics and music, and we started to call it the Journal of Our Disposable Culture. Yeah. It really is. I mean, that's what pop culture is all about. I mean, it's totally, it's big this week. It's not big the next week, but I mean, it all continues in a tradition.
Yeah, it was sort of a cynical look at our disposable, our throwaway culture in terms of, I mean, there's no such thing as high culture and low culture anymore, really. I mean, we grow up, even if you wanted to be an artist or whatever, a painter, you grew up watching the Flintstone and looking at Da Vinci, prints or whatever. So this was, I mean, generally started with our interest in B-movies, but it sort of branched out to all forms of sort of exploitation culture.
Yeah.
We don't really make a distinction really between high and low.
I don't think we would. In fact, I think it's good to mix it up, to really break down any kind of
sort of elitism or
any kind of elitist kind of thing. That these are art.
Yeah.
And that is something. I mean, because in the end, it's all bought and paid for. When I was thinking of names that were kind of vaguely kind of psychotronic-ish, like Sick Cinema and Bloodshed and stuff. And I just, one day I just thought of Trash Compactor, and I'm really glad, that because it really doesn't consign itself strictly to movies like something like Sick Cinema would, or strictly to kind of gore or something like Bloodshed would. I mean, it really allows you to include everything. It's such an open term. I think it's a really good title. Probably the best thing about the magazine is the title. 'Cause, 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 it looked like regular fanzine. You know, it was photocopied, you know, stapled together, and it wasn't with issue 10 that we started to do it offset, and then we started to get distribution. And sometimes we had glossy covers, although, you know, sometimes we like the textured ones better, you know. But it was with that. You have to it's like the whole thing about subversion. You have to look like the product, and then inside, you know, you have the poison.
I think we were approached for the first one by a distributor, Marginal.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they hear about you. I mean, I do get letters from distributors, and I think, you know, that they know these things will sell. You know, that there is an audience out there. I mean, it's not selling like, you know, the amount that they probably distribute of Superman or Spider-Man, but, you know, I mean, it sells. It's the kind of thing that sells. It's got, you know, that word cult. It's got a cult audience that they know will buy this stuff. Right now we print up a few thousand of each issue. I think we print up the same amount as Cine Action and Take One. And the thing is, we actually sell ours.
Well, I think that when we first started, I mean, we could both agree on someone like John Waters or the early Paul Morrissey stuff.
That was before we went to Hollywood and started making those bad movies.
Good dance sequences, though. Russ Meyer, definitely. But I think right now, I think some of the best films are coming from Hong Kong, like the John Woo films.
Well,
definitely.
Yeah, so too. I think the interesting thing about exploitation in Hollywood is that the guy who made Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer has made a Hollywood film with like Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese producing and stuff like that. The guy that did the Evil Dead film just made Army of Darkness. The guy that made Slacker. Next film is for Hollywood, and it's all for Universal Studios, oddly enough.
Yeah, I don't think you can make like an exploitation film like Herschel Gordon Lewis did, or like the Russ Meyer films. I think with budget and everything, something like Fatal Attraction is definitely a B movie type of scenario and plot to it, but it's got A movie gloss.
Yeah. But the thing is, they won't go. You know, the Hollywood films won't go for the gore. They would have to get something like an NC-17 rating, which they don't want to get, because they can hardly show it anywhere. And there's not that system of drive-ins and independent movie theaters anymore. So you're right. If a guy like Herschel Gordon Lewis came along today,
it'd be out on video.
He would just be a video guy and probably be making nowhere near the money. The issue that we're doing now is about Russ Meyer, which I'm going to write like a lot of the main article for, just because, you know, he really is my favorite director, or one of my favorite directors. That you know, I really wanted to do this thing, and I'm not doing any reviews. You know, his films have been reviewed to pieces. I don't really think there's anything new that I could add to it. I really want it to be a reference book, so I'm doing tons of research. You know, so I think, you know, it's going to be a good reference book to Russ Meyer films, and I'm surprised there's not more. B movies, the whole concept of B movies has changed a lot. At first, when there was double bills, the B movie was something that was made strictly to be shown as a B movie. And now, really, because all films are made to be A films, or, you know, the only film on the program, it's all a perception, you know, it's how people perceive these films. So you get a thing like Fatal Attraction or Silence of the Lambs, it's just, you know, it's the stars and stuff and the advertising campaign that give it the prestige that make people see it as an A picture. But with a different cast, it could easily have been, you know, perceived as a B film. Well, Exclaim, and that's, you know, kind of the loose title for it, because it really, the title is totally a visual one. You know, some people call it Exclaim, some people call it Cuss, some people call it Swear Magazine. I think that's, you know, I think it's got a great title because it's so open, you know, for people to, you know, but again, it's visual and not a verbal thing. I mean, really, it's kind of, it's in a tradition, too. If people remember a paper that was around Toronto called Nerve in the mid-'80s, although there's been, you know, a lot of precedents for a paper like Exclaim. I mean, really, it's covering the local kind of arts, music scene, and, you know, fanzines are part of it. You know, and I think, you know, it's really great, because my whole thing is not, and I think a really good thing about fanzines is, you know, it's that it's not a very competitive thing. People are open to, you know, plugging other people, and I really want people to buy more and more fanzines, because then there'll be more, it'll be easier for people to do them, you know, they'll be getting money, because, I mean, that's what fanzines are done on. It's not so much that we want to get money doing it, it's just most fanzines rely on that money, and the only way you can afford to do your next fanzine is if you sell copies of your last one. I mean, I think that, you know, the audience that are out there buying zines are buying them all. There's not so many that they've really got to look at, say, Trash Compactor and whatever turns you want to say, which one am I going to buy? I mean, you can buy both of them, because it's not like there's, you know, so many, or that they come out so often. In fact, in the case of both of them, they're so the numbers are so low, you better buy them when you can get them. And I think people do. I think, you know, the great thing about it is you can do it at home. You can get it out there. You can get it on the newsstands. You know, you're probably not going to have the amount of readers that Rolling Stone or Time will have, but you can get it out there.
Yeah.
And I think in Toronto, I think it's a great, you know, city for fanzines right now.
Yeah.
Seems to be a lot of great zines being produced here. The trouble is, you know, I mean, there's a lot of great zines being produced all over the place, just they rarely make it outside of their city. You know, that's one of the good things about Trash Compactor is that a lot of it makes it outside of Toronto. There's a guy named Jack Stevenson who put out 3 volumes of something called Pandemonium during the 80s. When the first one was a lot of correspondence with people like William Burroughs and John Wayne Gacy and Al Goldstein of Screw Magazine. And the second one, kind of more film-oriented, Waters, people like John Waters. The third one had a big thing on the Kuchar brothers and Ken Anger and stuff like that. Well, you know, he put out these great, you know, books, which are fairly hard to get now. But he's, since the mid, or close to the 90s, he was a film archivist. And he's just touring with these film programs. So right now he's touring Europe, and he's about to come back to tour the United States with something called The Short History of the Exploitation Film, which really is, you know, goes from the 1920s to like the 1970s, 42nd Street kind of gross-out films. And unfortunately, he's coming to Toronto, and the paper Exclaim and Pleasure Dome Film Collective are bringing him, you know, kind of been involved with kind of as middleman towards bringing him in there, bringing him to Toronto to the Euclid Theatre for one night on April 7th, which is a Wednesday night, with this great program full of stuff that you're never really going to be able to see, and hardly any of it's on video, available on video. I mean, he's keeping it out of video so it doesn't, so its value as a cinematic experience doesn't get kind of taken away.
Friday, May 14th, Genetic Rhythm with What Dogs Dream About, Fallen Idols, and Lifelike at the Heritage Theatre, 86 Main Street North, Brampton. Tickets are $7 advance, $9 at the door. This is an all-ages show.
I've never been the
Don't let the money shit and make you proud. You don't like cow. What a shame. With the milk, this won't taste the same. I love the cow. You love me back. The color's gone, now it's serving bigger back. You don't like cow. What a shame. Without the milk, this won't taste the same. I like cows, I like them lots. Sun is solid colors, the sun has spots. Sun of cow makes is why I don't like you. Because it's a cow, it can only say no. The